This podcast will contain spoilers for all aired episodes of HBO's Game of Thrones and all published books in George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series.
Imagine being one of Stannis' sailors. This is not what I signed up for.
Yeah, I wanted to get a shot of Salador in the background, like, get us out of here. This is not
Bring me my brown pants.
Welcome to the Vassals of Kingsgrave DragonCast edition. We're back this week to review the 8th episode of Game of Thrones Season 5, Hardhome. My name is Zach, also known as Alias in the podcast of Ice and Fire forums, and joining me for this review we have...
Hi, this is Greg, claudiusthefool on the forums.
This is Matt, Varley on the forums.
My name is Paul, and I'm known as Pod's Plight on the forums.
This is Adam, drownedsnow on the forum.
This is Bing, Shoeshiner on the forums.
I am Jack's broken heart, known as LuckyCharms on the forums. No, kidding.
This is Duncan, also known as Valkyrist on the forums.
And there you go. We have another Kraken joining us. We've imprisoned yet another one, so that should be fun.
Yeah, imprisoned.
And I just have to make a note for all the rabid Michal fans out there. She couldn't make it again this week, as you can tell. She is out seeing a musical, I think. So yeah, just doing cultured things or something. I don't know. We're just gonna talk about Game of Thrones here.
I can hear the people clicking off right now. Just turning it off.
This is outrageous.
So we'll just get a 2-star rating.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yes.
All right.
What else is new?
What are you gonna do?
Shark.
All right, so yeah, Hardhome episode 8, quite the episode, of course. I think a lot of people were really into this one for a variety of reasons, which we'll surely get into. But let's go ahead and start with the lemon cake ratings, starting with you, Greg.
I mean, I didn't really like it too much. I gave it a half a lemon cake, so
average.
You go ahead. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I gave it a 5. It's definitely my favorite episode of this season. Maybe the best one since Blackwater, I think. Even the non-Hardhome stuff I really enjoyed. The stuff with Cersei, and I actually quite enjoyed Tyrion and Dany, which I didn't expect to. But just the, there was no Dorne to bring it down. I would give it 5 lemon cakes just for Septa, Yanella, and 1-1. And everything else was just icing on the lemon cake for me. So, yeah. Sure. 5 lemon cake.
And you, Matt?
I gave it a 4.75. I loved everything. I just wish that the little baby, Craster's baby that got turned into a white was playing like the Ollie role. Like, I don't like the wildlings either. Like, kill them all. But no, I really enjoyed this whole episode, and even more so on the rewatch. Like the Dany Tyrion scenes, just much better than I thought they would be.
And you, Paul, what did you think?
I'm also going with a 5. I thoroughly enjoyed it throughout, and the ending was quite epic. And I guess if Varley got his wish and Jon killed an infant White Walker, that would have been pretty amazing as well.
That would have been like 6 lemon cakes out of 5.
Yes.
A baker's lemon cake.
What did you think, Adam?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to keep the train rolling. I've got to give it a 5. I mean, nitpicks or anything aside, it was just a great episode.
What did you think, Big?
Yeah, 4.75 to 5, somewhere in there, and pretty high regardless. This is obviously the best episode this season, and it's good that Game of Thrones remembers to go back to what it's good at once in a while, and that is huge action pieces.
What did you think, Alex?
I would give it a 5, I guess, but I would add a footnote and say that it's troubling. The previous 2 episodes, I'll be blunt and say, have really winded my enthusiasm for the show, and I really enjoyed this episode, but I'm not quite comfortable with myself feeling like one back over. I don't know.
I'm not either, but you can still keep them separate and just enjoy this for what it is. Or at least I can.
Yeah, I'll say there's a dissonance between the merits of the show at this point and just my personal enjoyment, if that makes sense.
That's fair.
What did you think, Duncan? You were at a loss for words on the forums, so.
Yes. I mean, you guys pretty much said what I was going to say. Yeah, it's the most engrossed I've been by an episode since the first season before I'd actually read the books. And I think it really captured that, or recaptured that feeling of fear and excitement and not knowing what's going to happen next, probably more so than Feast Dance itself, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I was worried about Dany and Tyrion interacting, but I think the way the two personalities balanced off each other worked surprisingly well, and there's a lot more to invest in with the Meereen plot, I think. And the other scenes were really good, especially the Arya stuff, but ultimately it was all just table setting for the main event, which was the reckoning of Hardhome, which in my opinion is the best battle of the show because it just sort of exploded out of nowhere and it was just rank frenzy and horror, which is what a battle should be. And yeah, just the combination of eerie sound mixing and really creepy images I thought was really effective. And there's obviously things you can pick apart about the episode. It's not perfect, but as I mentioned on the forums, I was like physically shaking by the time the credits rolled. And so I've got to give it 5 out of 5.
Cool. So I think that I'm pretty much with the cast on this one. It was a really fun episode. I think the way I would describe it and the way I've kind of been thinking about it, was that it was a really cool mix of stuff from the books I didn't expect the show to do, like the Arya stuff, and I guess you can expect the Cersei stuff, but giving that more detail, it was cool to get all that, but also stuff that is completely new that I really enjoyed, and it was just cool to get that mix. And of course, Hardhome was just showstopper awesome, and this is coming from someone who's not typically like a huge fan of the whole apocalypse zombie whatnot thing, but it just was like you say, Duncan, just at the end, the only things I could say was holy shit. I was just blown away by it, and I had a great time watching it. So for that reason, I would give it 5 lemon cakes as well. So let's go ahead and jump in. Not beginning with Hardhome, we'll save that for the end. Beginning with Meereen, where we get Tyrion and Jorah being brought to Dany's throne room. Tyrion makes his case to Dany, including some backstory of Dany that he kind of used to get her on his side, and she asks him to advise her on what to do with Jorah. Tyrion says that he seems to be absolutely dedicated to her, but points out that he didn't trust that she would spare him if he told him the truth about what he was doing before. So Jorah is sent again into the exile zone immediately after returning.
Well, he got his second punch on his exile card, so once he gets to 5, he gets a
free lemon cake.
Yeah.
Do you think there's anything that Tyrion would have said that would have ended up in Jorah being allowed to stay if he had tried to make the case for him to be allowed to hang out? Or do you think there was just no way?
No, I think that was his first test that Dany was giving to him. She'd already decided that he was never coming back, and she's saying, all right, are you going to give me wise advice, or are you going to give me self-serving advice?
Yeah, exactly.
But it seems like it wouldn't be self-serving for Tyrion, because he would want to be the only one advising.
But didn't it seem like he was giving advice on both sides of the coin? He was he deceived you, but I'm pretty sure he loves you.
He played it well.
He played it to protect Jorah from being killed,
He was basically look, you could take him back and that would probably be okay, but you really just can't do that. And I think that was the way he knew that she was going to accept him, is to just say, look, I like this guy, you like this guy, but he's got to go. It's a bit surprising because I thought with Barristan gone, maybe Jorah would come back, but it makes sense.
Well, it was weird to see Dany with no one standing behind her except for Missandei. We know Barristan's dead, but Daria wasn't there, Hisdar wasn't there, and it just really put in perspective how she really has no one to rely on aside from Missandei at this point, at least. And Dario's just telling her to kill everybody.
Let's go ahead and move to the thing that Jorah does afterward, where he, leaves Meereen very upset about this whole scenario, gets a quick peek at his grayscale, not looking good, kind of developing a little bit there, slightly bigger patch, and he goes immediately back to Yezin and says that he will serve him, in the pits at the Great Games. He will fight for him, so long as he can fight for Dany, I guess, so that he can prove his worth by means of arms, which worked excellently last time, so of course it's going to work this time.
Yeah, I don't know what his ultimate goal is. He just wants to die in glory for Dany, He knows at this point she's not going to take him back no matter what he does, right?
Yeah, I don't think he's thinking logically anymore.
Well, he knows he's dying, so I think he just wants to go out in some glory.
And from the show's standpoint, we know why they want him there.
Right.
But for him, I think he's just I'm dead. I might as well. I can see her one last time this way. I was exiled, but she can't kick me out in the middle of this sort of thing. I think that's maybe the only thing in his head right now.
Yeah, I guess the question he's asking is how do you want to die? You've only got this amount of time left. What do you want to do? And he says, all right, I want to serve the woman I love. I want to fight. I want to die with the sword in my hand kind of thing. I guess it's also this sort of maybe self-loathing, he sort of wants to punish himself or destroy himself in the pit.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that could be it. It's not how I expected it to play out. It's weird that they chose to frame it this way, because it does feel kind of like a reset button, right? Because he's kind of doing the same thing, obviously on a different scale, but how is it going to turn out this time? Do you guys have any theories on what they're going to do to maybe get them together? I guess we're assuming obviously Dany's going to fly off on Drogon, but how is this going to go for Jorah?
I think, sort of speaking of Barristan, if Dany gets absconded by Drogon in next episode and Jorah is fighting in the pits, he might be in a position to try and take up the defense of the city or something, or reset order, because they sort of know him there at least.
But then everyone knows that she's kicked him out twice, right? So
yeah.
He's like, well, in her stead, I'll be here to help. So maybe, I mean, unless maybe Tyrion's like, well, I'll allow it or something.
But he maybe sort of takes charge of the situation and gets people back to the pyramid as things are falling apart, and Tyrion thinks, all right, maybe I can depend on this guy.
And maybe he doesn't survive, I mean. Yeah.
He does maybe all this as he's slowly solidifying in front of everyone.
Or someone makes an assassination attempt on Dany that's not Locust, but like they try to stab her or something, and somehow he manages to save her but dies in the act of saving her. And then
that could be it as well, yeah.
I guess we'll see. But then we do get that final scene in Meereen with Tyrion and Dany meeting together in private this time, where they talk about what Dany should do next, kind of like general advising from Tyrion, what to do about the Westeros situation and how she's going to, enter that. And she kind of makes the point that, and we finally get this wheel speech that we've been getting teased on in all these trailers. She's going to break the wheel of the various great houses having control at various points in time. She's sick of it, and I think the impression we're supposed to get is that she is going to have absolute control with no great houses. I think that is kind of what she's saying, right, when she means break the wheel.
Workers' paradise. Yay.
Yeah. And I think sort of going back to the balance between those two characters, I think it works so well because Dany is so sort of lofty and ostentation, and Tyrion is so sort of cynical and grounded. So when she gives that speech in the trailer, it's kind of like eye-rolling, kind of these proclamations that she keeps delivering. But balanced against Tyrion's kind of like, yeah, people have tried that before. You're not the first person. I like that dynamic really well.
It's something that sounds really impressive in a trailer, but in context, it sounds really stupid.
It's strange, right? Because so I guess the difference is, I mean, this is kind of what Aegon did, right? Because, he wrests control away from the various quarreling kings and lords of Westeros and kind of takes control. But the difference here is that she is going to completely, I guess, demolish the houses, crush them into dust, kind of like Tywin did with the Reynes and the Tarbecs. I guess that's kind of, is that what she's saying?
I think it shows that she is still a bit ignorant. I mean, especially of where she comes from. To think, like, I don't know, like if she you pull down these great houses and then what? You still have to have someone that does their function, right? That like serves as basically a governor of those areas. So, I mean, it sounds nice and it also sounds stupid at the same time. But it's not. But it's fine. You know what I mean? Like it's what you would expect her to say.
It's interesting that she made the point that the common people would be there to support her when Jorah has kind of made the point that they don't care about this stuff, that this is above their interests. I thought that was interesting that she kind of reverted to that feeling that Viserys had.
Yeah, I almost felt like she might have been testing him more because some of the things she said were like, it's almost like she knows that's not true when she said, like, have an army and I'll have dragons, where all Jorah and Barristan have been telling her, like, that's not enough to win. So I think she might be keeping up with what she was testing him originally, like, just to see how he responds. I mean, it's kind of subtle, but otherwise I didn't believe her when she's like, well, I got an army, I'll be fine. Like, she can't actually believe that.
I got that feeling, too, from both of them. I think they were kind of probing a bit and not being fully honest about how they feel about things. I think Tyrion was doing that a bit, too, in the throne room scene. So, yeah, I think that it definitely wasn't, like, fully representing what Dany actually feels and thinks.
Yeah.
And whatever she thinks about what her role as ruler is going to be, I think a lot of us feel like her main role is going to be in defeating the war against the others, and then after that, she may or may not be around to do anything much after that. But in the long term, it doesn't really matter what her high ideals might be. You first have to win that war, and that's her main important feature.
In terms of the story, in terms of general, I guess, outside the story, from a reader perspective, that's probably the case. But she needs to, she should
have a better plan of action.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I guess she sees herself as like a leader of the small folk. It's like this peasant uprising. She's sort of liberating the slaves, and she thinks she's going to do the same in Westeros. She's going to destroy the evil noble families and deliver the small folk to justice and equality and all that, which is interesting. It's sort of what the High Sparrow is trying to do as well.
Yeah, the High Sparrows are doing that, right?
Yeah, he's trying to galvanize the masses to undermine the narrative that the nobility should be on top.
The thing is, the High Sparrow will be completely against Daenerys' existence.
Yeah.
Purely based on who she is.
She wants to control, and I guess you can make the argument he wants to do the same thing. She wants to control everything, just being the sole ruler. She doesn't want full-blown, like, everyone can do what they want, democracy, whatever. She wants just no one else to have that power, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's been brought up on the forums, too. She doesn't want a master class unless it's her.
Right. And it would be funny if she showed up in Westeros, and she's like, I'm ready to break the wheel. wheel. And Hesper's like, I kind of took care of that already. We're good here. You can
Here's
leave.
your broken wheel.
I did just want to mention in the first scene, I really liked the way it was shot, just with like the way it started really low down with Tyrion. It was kind of looking up at Dany, and then as he slowly starts to make his way up the steps, he's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of that shadow on the wall thing where he's elevating his status and his influence over her, and he's separating himself from Jorah. So it's kind of the most interesting way that the the Marinese throne room has been shot so far.
And the way he looks back at Jorah and, says like he loves you, I think it was sort of like so pitying and almost condescending, I felt.
Yeah. There's this sort of mix of pity and sorrow, and I feel like was sort of this kinship between him and Jorah in the last couple of episodes, that he sort of sees a lot of himself in Jorah, but at the end of the day, Dany is the kind of hope that he's been working towards, and Jorah is the sort of the pity and the shame that he feels within him. So he has to sort of detach himself from that and make his way out of that sort of pit of despair.
You see, I disagree, because I think this is just Tyrion taking a situation and putting it to his benefit.
Oh, that as well.
He was abducted by Jorah. Like, he didn't want that. But like with the slavers and everything, he saw his own self-preservation through Jorah, so it behooved him at the time to be buddies with him. And now I don't think that's the impetus behind him like trying to save Jorah necessarily through that scene.
And also, as he was moving up those stairs, it reminded me of Legends of the Hidden Temple, where they would like answer questions and move up the little platforms.
Yeah, next level. What did you guys think of? A lot of people were kind of saying how Emilia Clarke has been bereft a lot of interesting actors and characters to play across, and I guess I'm just curious how you felt about that aspect. How you think that the Dany character did in that with Tyrion?
Awesome.
Yeah. I was really surprised at how much. Like, I was going based off of their original meeting. I was like, I'm going to hate everything between Dany and Tyrion, and I was actually really pleasantly surprised that was not the case.
Looking forward to more.
Not too much. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Well, we might not actually get that much if she's going to be taken away next episode.
Right.
But yeah. But I agree. I really liked Emilia Clarke in this episode, especially when she's looking at Jorah and her voice is kind of wavering and she's starting to crack. You really get the idea that, this is a facade, this projection of power and dominance that she's putting out there. There is sort of vulnerability underneath.
Yeah, she does get a little teary-eyed, doesn't she?
Yeah, and Jorah gets a lot teary-eyed.
Poor Jorah. Yeah. But I really like the dynamic between Dany and Tyrion. There's a lot of mistrust. There's a lot of ambivalence. Even if she has, at the end of the episode or the end of the storyline, she finally takes him into her services. There is still obviously animosity between the Lannisters and the Targaryens, but that's kind of that sort of an interesting through line throughout this episode. These two sort of warring clans, coming together, I guess.
And that aspect was acted really well, I think, with the way she was kind of sitting. It just felt kind of awkward and standoffish a bit, and I thought that really added something to the interaction and just made it more interesting to me.
What about the Varys reveal?
Oh yes, right. This was one of the things actually that I thought was kind of Tyrion being dishonest, or at least it was weird to me that he kind of said that he trusts Varys completely. Like I just can't imagine that. I guess maybe since they've been through so much getting here, but it's just, how would you trust a man like that, right? He's one of the most scheming people there is.
Yeah, but he's really his only friend at this point, right?
True. It's just that I don't know. I don't remember exactly how they were presenting this in the show, but it's just how much he kind of shows his true colors after the Battle of the Blackwater. Like, I was only really working with you because you were the hands, and we still have some kind of relationship after, but it's really not the same. And I will inform on you to Tywin and Cersei as much as I need to. I don't know, like, how do you trust that?
See, that's not how I read that, though. I read that more as like, I am your true friend, but I have to do what I need to do to survive, but I've still got your back. And that's kind of what he did, where he rescues him at the end, with Jaime. But I always thought he never turned on Tyrion openly. In his heart, I guess, if he has a heart.
But even in Dance, doesn't he tell young Griff, oh, you trust him completely? More fool you. He's just like, don't trust anyone.
Yeah.
And here he is like saying, oh yeah, I totally trust Varys.
It's fine. It's just, it was a little strange to me. And I'm gonna write it off as him kind of doing that probing, not fully honest thing.
Yeah, I mean, he's almost selling himself as much as he's selling Varys. It's like, this is what feudalism do. We did what we have to do, but at the end of the day, we've come to you to try and make things better.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Let's go ahead and move to Braavos, where we meet Lana of the Canals, is what I'm going to call her. It was funny when we first saw her walking around with the oyster cart there. A cat went by. I thought that was nice. But yeah, we have Lana of the Canals here, Arya's new identity, plying her trade in the streets of Braavos. She comes across a gambler who asks for some oysters with vinegar. A sailor who approaches the man is taken away after he has denied whatever help the gambler can give. It's kind of ambiguous at that point. And later, Jaqen explains that the man is essentially a life insurance salesman who keeps the money if his customers die, and it is time for the many-faced god to intercede by way of Lana. The waif is skeptical. Again, something I didn't expect the show to do this part of her development, but yeah, we get it.
I was confused as to the guy who went there to basically to get him to sign off on his trip to insure him. Was that the guy that we saw praying in the temple later on?
I thought so.
Are we supposed to believe that? Okay.
That was the impression I got.
All right. Makes a little more sense now.
Also, do any of you guys know how to shuck an oyster? Because it is ridiculously hard, and she cracked open that sucker real quick.
She's industrious. Like,
she's a professional.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, we should have got like a Rocky montage of her like training.
Now you're ready.
All the stuff they're trying to get.
Jaqen's behind her, like whipping her.
I love that image so much.
I love the whole sequence. I love the intercutting between Arya like describing Lana's actions, like she's a character in a play, and I thought the scene just flowed so well and confidently with the narration, and just seeing Braavos finally, like the streets are just brimming with life, and there's fishermen, nets, and the sea, and the oysters, and the haggling, and the children playing. Like you finally get the life of Braavos. Or we spent so much time in this cold, dank, empty temple. It's cool to get outside.
And it's just like one of those moments in the show where you feel like you're living in a world, and we don't necessarily get that a ton, but I thought that it was a really excellent representation of that. The whole just like walking the streets, oysters, clams, and cockles and whatnot. It was just it just felt very immersive, I guess is how I'd put it.
It was nice to see Arya smiling, not crazy, I'm going to kill you smiling, but like she just, even though she was playing someone, but she was like happy, she's just smiling at people. Yeah, it was nice. It was a nice break.
The prostitute she passed was with Salador's son last season.
I saw that same person.
Really? Notice.
I did not notice either. Yeah, but I agree. It's a great world building, like just scene that didn't seem like unnecessary, like some of them have in the past. But this one worked.
Very organic, not info dumpy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm surprised how well they're pulling this off, because like on paper you'd think something like the Dornish stuff would be the easiest to adapt because it's so sort of cinematic, whereas that's sort of fallen into a heap. But the Braavos stuff is so sort of strange and disjointed on the paper. It's so weird, yet they've found this really compelling way to tell it. I think largely because of Maisie Williams just sells it so well. But I really like the mysterious kind of intriguing tone they've struck. You sort of want to learn more.
And just to be clear, in the books, she didn't have like a new face when she was Cat of the Canals, right? She was just
she does that first with the ugly little girl face. I think is the first face she actually.
But she's Cat of the Canals when she kills the insurance guy, right? When she poisons him, or is that?
No, I think she's the ugly girl.
Yeah, that's later.
Yeah.
What it's
been a while since I reread Dance.
She's Cat of the Canals when she kills Daenerys.
Right. I think what we're getting set up here is that she is going to end up killing, I guess, Meereen Trant instead.
They'll be standing on the pier. Mace Tyrell will be like taking a selfie with the Titan of Braavos in the background, and then it's Arya
like
just
petting it on the head.
Turn around and like he'll be dead. Like, what happened?
I love the idea of how oblivious he is with everything that's going on with his family back in King's Landing.
I don't think he's oblivious. He just doesn't know yet. Right?
True, but just generally that's his character, right?
He seems to be easily bumbling through life thanks to like the Queen of Thorns and the rest of his family.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Mace Tyrell is just playing a really long game here, and we just haven't seen it reveal his true colors.
Mace Tyrell, Iron Throne, I call it.
He's like, I'll have all the titles, and then I'll just be de facto hand.
We'll see. But yeah, let's go ahead and move to King's Landing, where we open with Septa Unella. I mean, she is named that, right? They give her that credit.
Yeah, she hasn't been named in the show, but that's what she's cast as.
Yeah, cool. So we get her entering Cersei, the now very disheveled Cersei's cell, where she offers her water and tells her to confess. Cersei refuses to cooperate and is denied the water and beaten with a ladle. And we later get Qyburn coming in to visit and tells Cersei that she'll be put on trial and makes plain his doubt in the integrity of the faith's justice system, kind of like the whole thing we've been talking about. This evidence isn't necessarily
no details.
Yeah.
No one knows how it works.
And he also tells Cersei that Kevan Lannister has returned to King's Landing and has taken control of the small council as the Hand. And then we also learn that Tommen has locked himself away in his chambers, won't eat. He's very very upset about everything. And Qyburn urges Cersei to confess. It seems like the best way out of the situation, but she frankly refuses. We get Septa Unella coming in one more time to offer her water, and she again is unwilling to confess and is denied the water, but she is so desperate to get a drink that she licks it off the floor after she leaves, kind of showing how far Cersei has fallen in so short a time.
The work continues.
Yes. Oh, yes, the work continues. We also get Qyburn
that work
mixes
better
edges.
pay off this season.
Yeah. in some way. I don't know if we're getting the actual fight, but I hope we see some Ungregor action soon enough.
No, I would be happy if it ends the way the book ends, where he's sheer like falling into his arms. But as we have to know that's who it is.
That's coming, yeah.
So did Kevin borrow Littlefinger's TARDIS to get all the way to King's Landing from Castle Rock in a couple days?
We don't know how much time's gone by.
How much time has gone by?
I imagine a bit, but if they've been denying her water this whole time, she should be dead.
You die.
Right?
You die in 3 days.
Yeah,
right.
I don't know how the mechanics of that work.
The Westerlands are at peace. He just took the Gold Road straight there. He had horses. It's
not
fine.
much traffic.
Let's not nitpick how fast Sir Kevin gets around. Come on, we got to drill.
Do you think he even bothered to go back to Castle Rock?
He
He
just
just
waiting
in a week out. It's like, this isn't going to take long.
She'll screw up pretty quick, I think.
Yeah. But in the books, he does visit Cersei several times, right?
He
eventually
visits her once
Yeah.
to tell her that she has to do the walk.
Okay, so maybe we might actually get him visiting her in the cell.
Do you think he actually wanted her to confess so that would initiate a trial by combat, or he was talking about something else that he said there was another way?
I thought the whole point about the evidence being sketchy was the gentle nudge, like we should take this matter into our own hands, kind of thing. But I'm not sure about the whole confessing thing. I think that I don't know what the point of that is. In the book, it's just to get her out of the cell, but it's not. It doesn't clear her of her crime.
Right, because she only has to confess to fornication or something like that.
Yeah, because she can't really prove that she didn't kill Robert. She just made it possible that he died.
No, but even after her walk in the book, she's still facing trial.
Yeah, but that's true. The charges are a lot more serious, I think, in the show than the books. It's incest and killing the king, regicide of some description. So
Yeah,
in the book, she never admits to the incest, right? She just admits to
sleeping around.
So yeah, it's a bigger deal here if she does admit to all that stuff.
Isn't she also convicted of deicide? And she's like, "What god did I kill?" And it's like, "Oh well, you were the last High Septon killed."
Oh, that's right.
Right.
Well, yeah, she strangled it. She had the Kettle Black strangle him or something.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah.
Oops.
I remember.
Throw that up on the board.
Classic Cersei.
But yeah, it's as you say, it's almost like you hate Cersei, but you almost feel sorry. You feel some sense of humanity when she's just on the ground licking the wet off the stones. It's this moment of desperation. You can't help it. Yeah, I guess you're right. It's
the same way with Reek. I feel like he did shitty things. He
exactly.
got shitty things done to him. It's like, oh, but no one should be subjected to that, man. Come on.
It's like you want Cersei punished, but it's like the worst possible people to do it. It's like they're worse.
Not these guys, right?
It's all about this puritanical, misogynistic style of punishing people, keeping her in a box, trapping her, and
And this is the part, if you want to talk about, the interesting things that Game of Thrones, the show, and A Song of Ice and Fire, the books does, is that it kind of is constantly making us reevaluate our opinions of different characters. And we begin in this season on the High Sparrow's side. He seems like a generous dude that's going to do the good things for the common people, but we quickly realize that his methods are problematic. But then you're kind of like, yeah, imprison Cersei, but then you get to hear it and you're like, oh man, this guy, denying her water, dehydrating her, this is pretty terrible.
And sleep deprivation and
sleep deprivation, that would be the worst. Being woken up every hour. Ugh.
Let's move to Winterfell, where we get Theon arriving again to Sansa's chambers, where he finds Sansa already waiting for her. She asks frankly why he betrayed her. Theon tries to explain that all escape attempts will fail because Ramsay knows all and sees all. He would have been in on this. Maybe he was even planning it. And Sansa is pissed, asks how Theon could have killed Bran and Rickon. And Theon, kind of traumatized as he is, lets slip to her that the boys he killed and burned were not Bran and Rickon. And Sansa is shocked. Theon is terrified at what he has just said and flees. Yeah,
I'm giving mad props to HBO because they are actually drawing this out longer than I thought they would. It's going to be minimum 3 episodes now. And I'm actually happy about that. It's not just a quick fix for Theon.
This is basically the only way to get out for Sansa to get through to Theon and for the escape to happen, right?
God, I'm so confused about the whole escape thing. There's like so many things. I don't know how it's going to end up playing out. We still have Brienne hanging out outside, slowly freezing to death there. And we have this whole thing that we'll get to with Ramsay going to Stannis' camp and what's going to happen with that. I don't know. There's just so many different variables. I have no idea how it's going to pan out.
All we know is that somebody we like is going to die, probably.
Mayhaps.
Well, we learn in this episode that Ramsay is leaving Winterfell, so that might free up Reek. He won't have Ramsay sort of leaning over his shoulder. Maybe Sansa can get to him a bit more. I guess, Roose is the real blockage. Maybe Sansa lights the candle herself, and that alerts Brienne or something like that. Like she gets Reek to distract the guards or something. I don't know.
She sends Reek to go kill Roose Bolton. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. That'd be a jump leap.
We can only hope. Yeah, so any other thoughts on this? Spit with Sansa and Theon. Reek, sorry. Not Theon.
Some more sort of beautiful imagery with Sansa and Theon staring at each other, and you got the white sort of window going passing through their silhouettes, and I don't know. I guess another sort of theme, in this series is a lot of characters being sort of stripped of their identities. Arya is choosing to have all of her identity stripped from her, and Cersei is sort of in the process of having her fineries sort of stripped away, and Reek is kind of doing the same thing. He says something like, bit by bit I was cut away at until there was no more Theon. So I guess it's kind of that theme of slavery and losing your selfhood and maybe trying to come back from that.
We do then move to the scene with Roose holding his war council, making plans on what to do about Stannis. He pretty much says that the best option here is to just wait it out, have them siege them. They will slowly starve and freeze to death in the northern winter. And Ramsay says that there might be a better option, kind of inspire the northern people, get them more on their side to deal with these Southron invaders. They should send a little party to do some damage, and he says that he can get it done with 20 men because Ramsay is so awesome.
I get the logic, but the numbers, just send out your army, right?
I'm not even sure I get the logic.
No.
Why would the Northerners be impressed that he beat Stannis? They'll just hate him still. They hate him because he killed the Starks, not because he's not strong.
There really isn't any logic here. I think Ramsay just wants to kill things. And maybe shirtless with some dogs. I guess we'll see. Shirtless in the middle of winter. That'd be pretty.
Well, I guess that's kind of emphasizing the Bolton strength. They're not going to cower behind their walls. They're going to go out and face the southern invader or whatever, and sort of recenter themselves as the commanding force of the north.
I've heard some speculation that Roose doesn't contravene this plan because he sort of wants Ramsay to pull a Uriah and get himself killed, so that he doesn't have to deal with him anymore.
I was kind of wondering about that.
Yeah, but this is pretty much what Ramsay does in the books to Sir Roderick, right? Because he basically has a small picked force that takes on a much larger force when they're besieging Winterfell. So,
but that's a betrayal, though. I mean, Stannis is not an ally that he's.
No, I know, but that might not be tactically the same, but that's kind of what went down. But I just, I don't think it's going to go down as well as he thinks. But Stannis, battle-tested commander, he'll have pickets, he'll have people ready, and he won't just let him pass. So
yeah, we'll see.
I guess the idea though is that the Southerners don't know the North the way the Boltons do. They know the environment. Ramsay's a hunter. He knows how to hunt people. He can pick away at them, spread fear and horror through their ranks. Maybe string some of them up on a tree and degrade morale.
Kill Shireen.
Are we supposed to get the impression that Stannis is parked right outside Winterfell right now? Is that how we're supposed to? No, okay.
No, I think he's on the way.
He's on the march.
Right, okay.
We're still holding out hope for the Mountain Clans. The Mountain Clans will come in and save Stannis' camp right before Ramsay gets him. I just want to see Big Bucket Wool.
Yeah.
That'd be good, yeah.
The wool. All right, so we have a short scene on the wall where we get Gilly continuing to tend to Sam in his bedchamber. Ollie arrives with some food and questions. He asks Sam how Jon could possibly be willing to work with the wildlings again. The people who brutally killed his family and village. It's really sad. Sam reiterates that there is a greater threat and that just like all people, not all wildlings are inherently bad. He says to Ollie that sometimes a man has to make hard choices, even if it doesn't look right to everyone watching.
God damn it, Sam.
God damn it, Sam.
You killed Jon, Sam.
You killed him.
for the watch.
I just picture Ollie being taken away and she says, but Sam said it was okay.
And Sam just has this look like,
Yeah, he's like, for Sam. Yeah.
For Sam.
Oh, shit.
Sam's like, God damn it.
To be fair, Sam also says Jon always comes back.
He does say that. How is he going to come back? I don't know.
Yeah, well, Melisandre's not there, so
Exactly.
that's one. They haven't established that he's a warg, and then he can go into Ghost Body, so that's scratched off.
And they've killed other characters that are alive, so I'm starting to think that they might just kill Jon.
I don't think so.
No, he's too big and important.
In addition to that being a reference to him coming back from the dead, I also thought for like show watchers it was setting as you would expect someone to say that if there was a possibility that Jon would die, like, oh, he always comes back, he's always going to be fine. And then, because that's the kind of thing you would say about someone that is in trouble.
It's the Oberyn Martell. This is not the day I die. And then your head explodes.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, he'll be back.
But how do you think they could get the whole, like, Caesar thing going now that so many brothers have seen what actually happened at Hardhome?
It doesn't make sense.
No, seriously, guys, this is a good idea.
Unless it's like the moment he steps, back into Castle Black, and you got, and you got a bunch of guys that are just like, all right, he's got wildlings, just kill him. And he's like, does no one? And then after they stab him, everyone else is like, guys, maybe you should have let us speak first.
Yeah, I brought that up on the forums. Basically, what you said, Matt. That like, how can they do that now? But I forget who responded. They said you only need a couple guys to do it. So that's why they're focusing almost everything on Ollie. I think they might take the easy way out and just have it be like a personal thing with Ollie, and not bring in which
like that.
Yeah, but they've made those kind of decisions before, and that seems like the easiest way to do it with him's. Without Sir Alistair joining in or Bowen Marsh, who was not actually Bowen Marsh because we don't know his name. It's just Ollie. They've shown a couple grimacing faces in the background, but it's just been Ollie.
Yeah, they're playing up the emotional component of the wildlings, and Ollie seems to be at the center of that. But yeah, they need something else. Like they need they need to hear about Stannis being killed and Jon to go crazy, or he hears about Sansa being tortured in Winterfell and writing down on Winterfell or something like that.
Because this is a big, huge deal, even to just give the impression that you've killed off one of your top 3 most important characters. Like, this is huge. You need to set it up. To just do it as a throwaway with this random character. I mean, you can like Ollie, it's fine, but it's like, it's just not enough. And the whole interesting thing about Jon in the book is that it's like a whole thing where he's making a series of blunders, and it's the institution of the Night's Watch versus Jon the person, not, a personal grudge. That diminishes it so much.
The tragedy of it has to be that Jon somehow earned it. Like, up until now, he's been this conquering, he's been this hero, he's defending everything with righteous fury, but he needs to somehow break his oath in some way to earn that. He needs to sort of lose his mind a bit.
I don't know. It'll still have the same epicness where instead of for the watch, we get, for my unnamed village, and then he stabs him. So.
For the potato. For the potatoes I never got to eat.
Yeah.
That would be the ultimate fuck you.
For the potatoes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It could be they're not going to, I don't know. That's one of the show's weak points, I think, has always been not giving proper motivation or leaving motivation from the books and just writing it out in favor of something easier and cheaper and that doesn't entirely make sense.
Yeah, this is the big thing I'm worried about with how this season is going to end. I'm really concerned about how they're going to handle this in particular, because I can imagine this being like a huge negative for the perception of Game of Thrones, where they're kind of abusing the whole kill the big character's reputation for like something that doesn't pan out or be interesting. It worries me.
Yeah, I think the show is setting up Sansa to write the pink letter, but which doesn't make any sense in the show because Jon already knows that his brothers are alive.
He didn't see them. I don't think he saw them.
No, Sam told him.
Sam tells him.
That's right.
That's right.
Very different.
Oh, that's right. You think he could have told Stannis, and then that could have been some political capital.
Might have been
in the 12 conversations they chose to keep that one off screen.
Yeah.
I've heard for future storylines, Sansa might end up sending Brienne to try and find Rickon or Bran or something.
Yeah, I think we said that actually on the last.
Oh, did you?
Speculated that on last DragonCast that
That's
might
probably
be
where I got it from.
It was us. It might be interesting for that to be her out because she wants to kill Stannis. There might be some kind of that would bind them. They have a common interest of some sort. What if she just killed Stannis? What do you guys think about that? If she just like straight up.
I'd have no problem with that. That's fine. That's cool.
Yeah, you're fine. Okay.
As long as his purpose was served, I don't know. It would definitely feel premature if before the end of the season, she manages. Oh, look, Stannis is here. Stannis is dead.
Boom.
What?
So many theories, so much speculation. This is so strange to not know what's going to happen.
And there's only 2 episodes left. Like, you don't know where they're going to have to leave it on a cliffhanger, or are they going to rush through all the resolutions, or
We'll see. I don't know. That's why it's so good.
I mean, there's at least one cliffhanger that they might leave it on, even though I have $1,000 bet with Greg.
Oh yeah, what?
I forgot I did $1,000 on. I tend to do that sometimes.
Whoa.
Is that Jon would get Caesared.
Oh, yeah.
Was that it?
You're changing the bet.
Oh, you're saying that it won't happen. You're saying it wouldn't happen, right?
Oh, I don't think it will happen.
Okay, so yeah, that's why it's...
Oh, that's right. I'm sure it will
We'll check back on that. But first, let us go ahead and move to Hardhome. Yes. Let's go ahead and start with the first bit we get, with Jon, Tormund, and crew arriving there, where they are met warmly by the Lord of Bones, so we can safely debunk that it's not Mance alive, whatever. That didn't happen. He's dead. And we have Tormund quickly having enough with Rattleshirt's insults, beating him to death with his giant staff. Yes, very well done.
Giant staff.
Giant staff. Tormund. Hard.
Bring Rattleshirt in just so Tormund can beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much
All
what
right,
they did.
Fair enough.
Your first day in prison, you find the biggest guy, and that's how it goes.
Yeah.
I think the Lord of Bones is going to need an orthopedic surgeon after that one.
Oh.
Do you think we'll see him again?
Lord of Broken Bones.
I just like how they recast him, and the actor they have playing him, I looked him up, he's actually Welsh, but they gave him this like Russian accent. And I think he's the only character on the show that has like a pretty straightforward Russian accent, and they kill him within like 30 seconds. So that's a subtle shot at Putin, I think.
Clearly a political commentary there.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Very clear.
Like people like, we got a Russian on the show, and he did. So
Wait, no, isn't the Fen Nasir that he was actually a Russian actor and he had a Russian accent too.
I thought they sounded more like, I don't know, like Finnish, Scandinavian, more like Peter, but I'm probably wrong about that.
No, they didn't sound awesome, so it wasn't Peter.
All right. They didn't say awesome things. All right, never mind.
Are we supposed to assume this?
Peter to a Fen?
Are we supposed to assume this Then in this episode is the new Magnar? Is that what it is?
He's the elder, at least, because there was the elders meeting.
Someone in charge.
Elder. So yeah, we do get this next scene where the Wildling elders convene. They ask Jon why they would possibly be interested, or they kind of just like, all right, explain why would we want to ally with our hated enemy, hated for millennia. Jon, offering his supply of dragonglass, says that this is the only choice they have to try to withstand the army of the dead. When they ask Jon what happened to Mance, he says that he shot him with an arrow to the heart. Tactful Stark skill there. But Tormund's like, wait, you killed him for mercy. It wasn't a bad thing. Which I think was actually the best way to do it if Jon was thinking ahead. Because, he wouldn't want to be like, oh, I saved Mance from suffering. It's better to have Tormund say that.
Yeah, I agree.
And we eventually have a spearwife named Cersei seeming convinced by whatever they need to do and says that she will follow with this plan, but more, follow Tormund. She believes in him. But the Thens are not interested.
Well, everyone fucking hates Thens.
Yeah, that was funny to get that.
I was so sad to lose
respect
Carsey.
that.
She was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Carsey's still around in a form.
Yeah.
She's whiting. Doing some whiting.
She's doing Pitch Perfect too right now.
Yeah.
So she's.
It was funny to find out that it was the same person because I loved that character in Pitch Perfect too. That's pretty neat.
Oh my gosh, it is.
Yeah. All right. So we get then first the wildlings, loading up on the boats. Not everyone, but as many as they could get. We have Carsey saying goodbye to her children. That's going to end well for her, obviously. That's not foreshadowing anything bad happening.
Yeah, this was the first scene that reminded me exactly of the end of Titanic, where they're putting the kids in the lifeboat, and yeah, I just expected to see like him saying, there'll be another boat for the daddies right away.
That was rather tropey. like also like like there was actually a lot of Lord of the Rings ish stuff, but we get of course like
Treebeard.
Yeah. And then we do get a storm descending upon Hardhome, some kind of ice storm, and the gates are closed, leaving many wildlings trapped outside. Whites begin tearing through the gates. Chaos takes hold as they storm the village, killing everyone in their path. Jon and Tormund join the fight. Jon sees the hut with the dragonglass is being overcome by whites. 1-1 breaks out, destroying all the dead things in his path. Jon enters the hut with the Then leader, only to find a White Walker already there. The Thenn tries to hold the other back while Jon looks for the dragonglass, but his axe is quickly shattered and he is stabbed. Jon is attacked and thrown from the hut by the inhuman thing. Desperate, he grabs Longclaw and crosses blades with the walker. They are both stunned when the blade does not shatter. Jon gets an opening and destroys the other. Injured, he makes a run for the boats with Tormund, Ed, and 1-1, who gets named, of course. Very cool. In the meantime, Cersei is overcome by whites in the form of children, probably the most terrifying image we get in the whole sequence. And the apparent leader of the White Walkers walks out on the docks to get a better look at Jon, who watches in terror as the Night's King raises the wildling dead as new soldiers for his army. So yeah, guys, this big epic sequence we get at the end here.
Oh, so much fun.
Very cool. So I don't know how we're going to parse this, but just some thoughts on this.
Well, just to be clear, there's no doubt now that is the Night's King because Benioff refers to him twice as the Night's King in the thing. Yeah. So that is. No, I loved it. It was the most entertaining half hour of Game of Thrones ever, even more than Blackwater, I thought, just because it was constant. There were no like cut scenes to Cersei getting drunk in Maegor's Holefest. It was just nonstop action, and there were so many individual little. The half a second of Ed and 1-1 with their little look that was priceless. I freaking loved the Night's King. I didn't care. I'm over the whole freak out from last season, and just all the little. I just loved it. It was probably the best half hour of Game of Thrones in my opinion so far.
Sure.
Yeah, it really snuck up on you as well. Like it was like a regular episode of Game of Thrones where they were cutting between different storylines for the first half, and then they cut to Hardhome, and it's like you're expecting, all right, they're going to cut back to King's Landing at some point, but they don't. It just stays there. It feels like we've been putting this off for far too long. The Wildlings and the Night's Watch. We've got to sit down, hammer this out. And also the White Walkers. We've been putting this off since the first scene of the entire series. And they just stay with it, and they stay with it, and they stay with it. And the tension just builds. And even at the beginning of the scene, it's really tense. Tormund just unleashes on Rattleshirt. It's just like there's so much exhaustion and anger between these two tribes, and they've just had enough. They just need to sit down and work something out. And then I don't know, they're just oblivion just erupts, and winter just declares itself to the audience in like the most spectacular, horrifying fashion you could imagine. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I think this is really important for the show, not because it came after two pretty substandard episodes, but also because I think this is the first completely invented storyline. I mean, we read about Hardhome in the books, but we don't know what happened. Just dead things coming out, right? Right. This is almost completely show invented material, and this is the first one that really, really worked.
It hit, so yeah.
But it's not a spoiler, right? Because this all could have happened, just Jon wasn't there for it. That's why it's not as bothersome,
Yeah.
Right.
It's such a payoff, right? I mean, from the opening of the series, / book, like this is the real conflict that just sort of gets pushed around that we don't see most of the time. And just also the way it was shot. I mean, there's not a lot of shaky cam. Like it's like the action was shot well, so you could see what was going on. There's a lot going on, so you have to watch it more than once to catch it all. But I really appreciated that.
And it wasn't even like a CGI filled thing either. There were practical effects on the White Walkers and the giants. They were just scaled up and added some stuff. But yeah, it was just really awesome to see it, and just so visceral and exciting. In terms of it being important, though, Bing, I just want to say quick that I think that it really is, because I think a lot of people do watch this show with the expectation that this is the big thing, and I think if they hadn't done it here, that would have been a problem, that they had been delaying on it so long.
Yeah, like another Fist of the First Men.
Yeah, it was important to get that payoff here, and they really they pulled it off.
Mm-hmm. Right. Unlike other battles, which are really sort of tightly choreographed, and they're built up to throughout the season, you're expecting it. The characters are always going over how it's coming. It finally arrives. You're seeing it from multiple different perspectives. This was, as people said, it's just Jon and just rank frenzy around him. Just like there was no sort of order whatsoever. It was just monsters tearing through chunks of wood, and wildlings, these fierce warriors just fleeing terrified into this frozen water.
Yeah, and I mean you get a dozen Night's Watch running into they don't know what, but thousands of the dead. Like that was great.
Yeah. And having the Night's Watch have that moment of, Night's Watch with me, like this is the first time we're actually seeing them fight the things they're supposed to be fighting, and that's their moment to shine, and they did, and it was
none of them ran.
Right.
I loved how in the beginning it was slow confusion taking over, like in that super wide shot where you could see all the wildlings down the coast, like little segments of them start running around, panicking around, and then it slowly just builds as the winds and cold is sneaking up on everybody, and then just builds into you're not knowing what's going on and everybody's just running around.
Yeah, John's like, please form into an orderly queue. We need to keep this organized.
Form ranks.
Have your tickets ready.
It's like a natural disaster. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's like a disaster movie.
Yeah.
Another thing I didn't like about the Army of the Dead was we got the skeletons again.
Right.
And didn't you just think like Bruce Campbell just with like a chainsaw arm could have just cut them to pieces and
yeah, but it makes sense because they would have been the first ones to break through because they've been there, they were in the army ready, and then you needed to give the others time to reanimate. So it made sense that those are the first ones you saw.
I also
but
think
still like it was.
And most of the skeletons were the ones falling over the cliff. Which is practically that makes a lot of sense. It's easier to do than to make, full flesh.
And that's what really sold it for me is that scene with them just like dropping, like it's so like it fits so well with like.
And you hear the bones, you wouldn't hear that if they had flesh.
This is much better CGI skeleton usage than last season.
Oh yeah.
I think the back of little girls throwing bombs at them really improved.
No, I have to say, fire would have been good here. They could have used a bit.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, and speaking of which, is this the first time the wildlings have ever fought them? Because there's no fire arrows.
I think it's the first time there was a battle. I think the whole reason Mance got them together was because they were dying, and there were whispers. Like they knew what was coming. But they didn't try to fight it. They were trying to get away.
I think the way that you sell it is that there is no leader. There is no one, controlling the situation. They're kind of just milling about. They don't have a plan, and I think that's kind of why they weren't prepared.
And the wall of the dead, the wall of the dead coming like right into Hardhome shows it wouldn't have mattered.
And they're sort of like on their last legs. It's like they've, Cassie says, fight them, run from them maybe, and that's what they've been doing. They've just been running and running, and they can't run anymore. They've arrived at the sea. And just they're exhausted. They're on their last legs, and they're just running into the ocean. That's how terrified. That's how undefeatable these creatures are to them.
And they're all going to die of hypothermia in 35 seconds anyway. So
yep.
They're not making it to the ships a mile away.
Yeah,
I thought the same thing.
Why do you think the dead people hang out together? The little pack of people.
There's always clicks. If life has taught me anything, there's always clicks.
Even in death.
There's some really disturbing imagery. Like I like the White Walkers perched on the hill above the slaughter. That was just so creepy and weird. Like they were just sort of these alien observers just kind of watching the slaughter.
The Four Horsemen.
Yeah, people are making that illusion.
Yeah.
Well, they're literally
as you say, the skeletons just leaping off the cliff like lemmings and then suddenly waking up and just lunging at the White Walkers. Just a creepy, weird sort of like slow motion and fast motion combined into one.
Yeah.
The one thing I was kind of like disappointed, I thought we were getting that we didn't get, and one thing I'm glad we didn't get that I thought we were going to get was the Thenn mentions ice spiders, and when they're talking, it's like, okay, we're going to see an ice spider.
Some ice spiders.
Yeah. I kept looking in the background, but we basically just see like the smoke monster, but white. But then I kept expecting a fucking ice dragon to come in, and I was so happy that we didn't get an ice dragon.
So you wanted
his arms at the end. It's like, oh shit, there's gonna be an ice dragon. I'm gonna have to flip this table, and it did. So I was very happy that we didn't get.
So you wanted ice spiders, but not dragons. I don't understand you anymore, Greg. This is so.
Ice dragons I just don't like the idea of it's just an easy way out, and plus we were ice spiders at one point.
I'm just joking.
Actually, have been ice dragons. So.
Yeah. Well, what I expected that didn't happen, and I'm glad. I expected 1-1 to go down.
Yeah, and be awake.
I was just like at any moment, I'm like he's going down and he's coming back undead, and I'm just like, this is going to be terrible. And he gets away, and then I did not expect that at that final scene he's got the come at me bro look going, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty intimidating. And I'm like, wait, okay, they're holding. It's really quiet. I'm like, okay, everyone's about to get up, aren't they? And then they all get up.
I think my favorite shot, and I imagine this is a lot of people's, is the part where the swords clash. You get the singing of the blades, and it's just a great moment because of course it's like, oh, the cheats are off. You can finally deal with these seemingly unstoppable threats.
And the sound mixing, like when Jon goes over the ledge and it just goes quiet.
Yeah, quiet.
And just hear his breathing, and he's like, oh, he's on death's doorstep, and his silhouette's just stumbling through the fog and the mist, and also the sound when Cassie sees the dead children, and the soundtrack, I don't know if you remember, but it is nightmarish. Really it is the weirdest thing you've ever heard, and just the waves and the cracking of wind and the silence that just ends
scene.
The battle.
Yeah, and you know before the expression on her face that she's not fighting them, that she's just done.
She's done. She's lost.
Well, did you think that she's done, or she's just like, I'm not gonna kill
I thought either she's gonna run away or she's just dead, and then she just sort of gave up.
Oh, you see, I think she saw the children and was like, nope, Can't fight him.
She was at her point. She couldn't do anything at that point.
One thing that was kind of weird was when the Then shut the gate and then they're all banging on it and then they all just go silent all together at once, which was kind of cool and eerie, but it didn't really make a lot of sense why all those people would just be like, "Whoop, quiet now."
Magic. I don't know.
Well, it was poison smoke. Poison white smoke.
Yeah, poison white smoke.
Also, it goes along with the entire series, or this season at least, where it's kind of like a horror movie. They've been doing a lot of scenes, very scary, dark lighting, like weird lighting, weird angles.
The scenes in Winterfell and What the Wall are just completely dark. Thin white light going through the windows, the stone men just jumping into the river and clawing at Tyrion, pulling him into the ocean. Yeah,
and you brought it up before, Zach, about the Lord of the Rings comparisons, and there's more than just a couple. Like for me, I just thought that the setup of the main hut, whatever the main building at Hardhome, looked like a ruined Edoras. Like they even had like the crossed horse, horse head. They might have been snake heads, but and like when they first start coming through the doors, like that's the scene when they're under Moria. And Sean Bean could have said like they have a cave troll, shooting the arrows through there. There were like 5 or 6 scenes like this is almost scene for scene what happens in Lord of the Rings. And then when one does his tree beard thing, he literally is like waving a flaming tree, stepping on them, flinging them off him like the orcs, and it was great.
And I really enjoyed it. And even the Sword Clash thing was like just like the King of the Dead.
King of the Dead, yeah.
The line is broken. It has been reforged.
So awesome.
How do you think that weird cloaked figure saved the one boat for them to get away with everybody clambering over him? He managed to beat everybody off and save a boat.
Well, they just didn't get the boats yet.
The last boat that Jon and the guys escape on, there was just a guy sitting at the dock.
Well, he said come back for me.
The hooded guy?
Oh, so he came back after everyone was dead?
So they left and then he came back at the end.
Also, it took forever for them to get 30 feet away from the dock in that boat. Like they started rowing away, and then it's like
no one
2
was
minutes
rowing.
later, and you're like,
they weren't rowing; they were stunned. I think they were they didn't have Gendry there. He would have got it done. I think.
I just like the idea of the others to be like, "We're gonna fuck you up, kill everyone," and then they get to the water like, "Ooh, cold, can't go in the water." So it's like we got to draw the line somewhere.
So instead of the wall, should they just have dug like a river?
Just a 1 foot deep river. That'll do it.
Yeah. It's interesting because this is as far as I know, this is a direct, not what the books are doing, because in the books the one thing we get is dead things in the water. These dead things don't do water apparently.
That would have been really cool just to have the whites here just grabbing onto the boat and trying to pull them under and stuff. But I guess they had to find a way to close the scene. I guess there had to be sort of this decompression point.
And maybe it's just him letting them go.
Like,
I think
it almost seems like a deliberate point that the White Walker King is trying to make. Like, we own this place now. This is ours. You're no longer welcome here.
How many boats does it take to send a message?
Well, the thing is, the Night King. So if we assume he's the Night King, then he was the Lord Commander of the Wall some thousands of years ago, and he was staring at Jon, and maybe he knows that Jon is the Lord Commander of the Wall.
Maybe he wants to make him his protege. Yeah,
I don't know.
Apprentice. Maybe
he has plans. Maybe he has plans.
That could be. If they wanted to radically, maybe this is what's going to happen in the book. I don't know. Is to make Jon want to join the bad, join the whites somehow. Get him.
I really also enjoyed the just seeing the ships, because in the beginning, like the ships in the background, it's nice calm seas, everything's fine, and then once the whites start attacking, like it's wavy, and then at one point there's just like giant waves rolling over the ships, and I don't think any of them actually went down, but it didn't look like it was going to.
It looked like they should have, didn't it? It looked like
but I didn't know. He didn't have like quite Saruman-like powers where he's like can control the weather, but he had an effect.
I had a friend asked me, he was like, well, he's like the White Walkers or whatever. He's like, aren't they're winter like incarnate, right? Why didn't they just freeze the water and send everyone after them? I'm like, well, it doesn't work like that. But I don't know if that was like an impression that was given, or like they're not like Iceman. I don't know. Like
I don't know. I kind of went that they were letting them go. I think that's the way I'm going with it.
That, and I think it's also like it's a deliberate march. They're gradually taking over piece by piece of land. I guess.
They're in no rush.
It was like the Thens that told Ollie to go tell the Night's Watch we're coming for you.
Mm-hmm.
He's telling them, go tell the Night's Watch we're coming for you.
Do we have anything else to say about Hardhome?
I had 4 more Titanic references I was going to make, but we cut it. 4.
I have a number of Army of Darkness to make as well, so
we'll call it a draw.
So killer episode, guys. It's going to be interesting getting into those last 2 episodes, because the thing with Game of Thrones is always that the big big crazy thing happens in episode 9, whereas it feels like we kind of got that here. I guess the big crazy thing in episode 9 is Dany in the Dazzle Spit. Yeah. We'll get something. We shall see. I'm curious to see how this story moves forward. There's actually a preview shot in the next episode where they have them walking up Castle Black.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
But whatever. Yeah, it's just.
So
it makes
they walk
sense.
this parallel wall all the way on the other side of the wall instead of.
Well, they do have an out there. They could say that the weather was so bad that they had to like just walk on shore, but then the others would have fucking fucked
Killed
them
them.
up on the shore again. So.
Yeah, we got marooned in the middle of the haunted forest.
Yeah.
Oh,
No big
man.
deal.
I hope they address that because they can't just have them walk up to the northern side of the gate. That just makes no sense.
I'll bet you $1,000 that they don't.
I will not take that bet.
Trying to make it a wash here.
Yeah.
Double or nothing.
Double or nothing.
All right, so yeah, I think that is about it. Really fun time, guys. It's just cool to just nerd out and not be upset about Game of Thrones
I
for
know.
once. Just into
This has
it.
got to be the most like overwhelmingly positive response. Like even Blackwater, I mean, there were a ton of 5 stars, but a lot of people didn't like it. But it seemed even on the forums, like it's over 50% 5.
Too bad Michal missed out on this episode. She was complaining about this on Twitter quite a bit, saying how lame and dumb it was.
It would have been nice to get that counterpoint for sure.
Glad I'm not on Twitter.
I haven't seen any
Greg.
negative responses apart from Mihal. There's probably a few other people, but like even people who rage quit the show from a couple of episodes ago have been like tempted back on, and they're saying, "Yeah, I hate parts of the show, but this was flat out awesome."
Alex.
You can't quit.
Will of Iron. All right, so thank you guys for listening to another week of DragonCast. Again, we'll be back next week to review episode 9, Dance of Dragons. I think that's what it's called, not Dance of the Dragons. I don't know. Thank you guys for joining me again. It was a lot of fun. We'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Welcome to the Vassals of Kingsgrave DragonCast edition. Whoa, sorry.
What?
Did I catch you off guard?
Whoa.
I'm sorry. You took my surprise.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you, Greg.
That's right. I'm ready.
It's okay, Greg. It's all right.
Are we
Safe.
good now?
Yes.
Hashtag Greg.
Alrighty.
Oh, shit.
Hashtag Greg.
Oh, no, I was going to ask Greg how the mini NYC moot did.
Oh, it was fun. I mean, we literally only got to hang out for like 5 minutes because it was just this giant convention. But it was fun. Got our picture, and she, of course, did the hashtag Greg thing. But that was funny.
Greg, you look like Will Wheaton's brother. It's very
Thank you.
uncanny.
You really do.
Does he have a brother, or just mean I look like a fat Will Wheaton?
Who do you think was babysitting baby Sam? Because he wasn't with his mom or dad.
She's
not
just
dead.
hanging out by himself.
Yeah.
He's gone in a lot of scenes.
Yeah, they have he's been alive for like 5 years. He's still a baby.
Yeah.
Ghost
Yeah,
Ghost
that-
is the nanny.
Well, that's what I was about to say is like the kid is still like 3 months old and he just sleeps all the time. And then we go in other places and we're like years have passed. So I don't know.
Time moves differently at
He's
the
starting
wall.
his first day of Night's Watch kindergarten or something.
Yeah.
The cold preserves.
It's sword training today for him.
He can face off against the
baby White Walker.
dead-
Serve the
Yeah.
That would be his brother. His brother.
Yeah.
Oh,
It would be.
the stakes would be even higher. Please, someone draw a picture of a White Walker baby fighting baby Sam.
I've only ever seen a cover of this book, and I like George's quote. It's like a cross between Jurassic Park and Game of Thrones.
He references his own book.
That's just how you do it.
That seems so fake. It seems like his assistant was like, "We need a quote for this book," for some reason.
Yeah, this is the best book I've ever read since my book Game of Thrones.
Go buy my book. That should be the quote.
I think they just showed him the picture of on the cover, and it's like, oh,
I love
that looks
that.
like Game of Thrones, but has dinosaurs.
Well, you know what's going to happen. That if it breaks the internet, it's going to be because Varys shows up and reveals his true form. And we all know what that is.
He kills Pycelle and Kevin and swims away.
And you're like,
Oh,
is that they're not going to explain anything. He's just going to have a tail.
The whites,
Like,
the
his
whites,
tail. People are like, what?
the whites did under the water because they knew that was the domain of the Merlins.
Yeah. They'll have a whole flashback
Waters.
episode showing everything that like Varys has done, and there'll be Hardhome, and his head will pop up and be like, yeah, all according to plan.